There's a place down the street where good friends meet. Why don't you come along? See a face that's new, share a point of view, or maybe sing a song. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Climb to the top of the stair.
What are you guys doing? This homework getting to you?
Oh, it's for my school project. I'm doing something special on advertisements and what it actually tells people.
Well, it tells me that if this magazine had no ads, it would be about 5 pages long.
My friend at school is watching TV commercials. She got the good deal.
Is she the one who moved in on your street a couple weeks ago, Mooney?
Yeah, her name's Susan.
She seems nice, but sort of different.
She's probably just nervous about being new, that's all.
Yeah. I don't think that's all. She invited me to her house the other day.
So what's wrong with that?
For a drink.
Once upon a time, there was a coin named Caesar. He was a beat-up old quarter, and he got that way from traveling a lot. That's why he wasn't shiny and new anymore like those fellows that came out of the mint. If he could talk, he would spend a lot of time telling about his experiences. Like the day he fell through the hole in a pocket onto a busy street, or the time he did the job of a screwdriver fixing a bike. Well, one day Caesar felt smothered as he was held tightly in the hand of a little girl. She was on her way downtown to the library. She knew she couldn't get on the bus without some money, and that's where Caesar came in. Actually, you could say that Caesar was the one who helped her to get to the place she wanted to go. One dark night, he was bouncing along in someone's purse. He heard sobbing. He wished he could find out what it was all about, and maybe even do something to help. His chance came. A shaky hand lifted him into the dim light of a street lamp. He was in a phone booth. Shortly after he fell into the slot, he heard a voice saying, "Is that you, honey? It's so nice to hear your voice again." It made Caesar feel warm and good to know that he was helping two people get together again. It's the kind of feeling that overwhelmed him a few days later in a store. Experience told him that when he heard cash registers, that he would be used to buy something. But it was not to be so. The hand that held him tightened and loosened its grip several times as if undecided. Finally, he was dropped into a slot in a glass jar. Just before he fell in, he noticed a sign on the front, "Help the Crippled Children." He liked to do his part to help. But the day came when he did not feel so happy. He wished for all the world that he could decide for himself how he would be spent. It would make him feel so much better. Especially on this day. He was being piled onto the counter with a lot of his partners to buy a six-pack. He feared that it would cause a lot of trouble, even heartache. An old 48 dime had once told him how he'd been lying on a shelf one night when people got to drinking. So much so that some of them got violent, and they started fighting. The family even broke up because of it. Caesar didn't want any part of that kind of thing. But that's how it is when you're a quarter. It's people who decide where you go and what you buy. As for Caesar, he lay in the drawer for a long time thinking about people. He wanted so much to be helpful. He wished with all his silver little heart that somehow people could learn to use him only for good things. It would be ever so much better for everyone.
Hi, Byron.
Hi.
Hi.
Boy, am I glad school's over for today.
You should be glad you're getting educated. You should want to stay overtime.
Are you kidding?
What was that fight about, Byron?
You in a fight?
Not a fist fight, just a lot of arguing in the halls.
A lot? You had half the student body prepared to take sides.
Good grief, what was the issue?
Well, my locker partner, that's who I was arguing with, stashed away a Mickey in our locker, and I found it along with an empty bottle. So I told him off. Boy, if the teacher would have found that in our locker, we'd both be in a lot of trouble. Anyway, he's been going on like this for some time now, and I don't think it's good for him.
I can really see where that would affect his schoolwork.
Yeah, and I don't think it's my imagination when I say it's making him into a not-so-nice person. Like, we've never argued about anything before, but over this, pow.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that going around our school now. Everybody knows that.
But that still doesn't make it right, Kelly.
There's a story that Jesus told about a man who decided to build, but you know he ran out of gold, and the project was finally killed. He rushed into the thing too soon, did not think about counting the cost, so the project was left in ruin, everything that he had was lost. Why don't we wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed us the way. Why don't we wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed us the way. Are you gonna take that first drink? Are you gonna keep popping those pills? Might be better to stop and think, all that danger for just a few thrills. Are you gonna break up that fight? Are you gonna make peace with a friend? Maybe now you just feel uptight. You'll be glad that you helped in the end. Why don't you wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed you the way. Why don't you wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed you the way. There are times when it's hard to know. Take some searching to do the right thing. Asking others which way to go helps to see what the future may bring. There are choices each day we live. Let's all learn from mistakes that we make. Just remember that God forgives. He wants you to decide for His sake. Why don't we wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed us the way. Why don't we wait just a little and pray? Stop and look, Jesus showed us the way. He showed us the way.
So how do you guys handle this alcohol floating around?
It's really hard. If you don't get into it, the rest of the kids think you're a chicken. And yet, I don't feel like I want it.
It's not just Byron's locker partner that get on your back. It's those kids that plan their good times around drinking.
Why would someone want to get into it, Ron?
I think there are a lot of reasons, but one of them might be that people feel it's a way to break into the crowd at school.
Yeah.
I think the key factors leading to alcoholism are fear, loneliness, and depression. In my own case, I think this was my problem. Looking back over it, the loneliness of not having friends. When I was drinking, I would have the false courage to get friends. The fear is of being not accepted and wanting to be accepted, to drink to force yourself onto people. I would do things that sober and sensible I wouldn't do. It would give me a lot more nerve. Drink enough so that I would have a good time, so that I have enough to be the life of the party. And I felt this was living. In most teenage cases, I believe the alcoholic problem develops by maybe a teenager that has the problem, that wants to experiment with his friends to show them what kind of a kick they're going to get out of it. To be a smart teenager, there is no kick to it. When you wake up sick the next morning, there are a certain element that will, because they have the alcoholic tendencies. To get on an alcoholic trip like this, it's something that they've got to live with the rest of their life till they find their own cure. Alcoholism in anyone's life, as in my own life, can lead to a self-destruction. The loss of your self-respect, the loss of respect by other people, loss of jobs, loss of life, loss of mental facilities, a loss of friends, a loss of acquaintances, a loss of family, really a loss of everything that you really cherish in life. You're actually putting yourself into a life that you have to lie, cheat, steal, and go to jail for. With the help of my girlfriend, she taught me that there was a way by praying with a sincere prayer and asking Jesus Christ to come into my life and forgive me for my past sins, that there was a better life, there was a future, a happiness, a contentment of mind that since then I found to be true, because when I asked Jesus Christ to come into my life, to remove my sins and to help me help those that had the same addiction that I had, everything started to change. It didn't change easy. Only with the help of Jesus Christ coming into my life, I believe that have I got this sobriety. He's picked me up really from the gutter, or so close to the gutter, and brought me back to what I am today.
Maybe Susan is just shy or scared about being new around here.
It sounds like your friend, Byron, is beyond a certain point and needs a drink during the day.
Maybe. He doesn't get drunk or anything, but it seems to relax him. And when he doesn't get it, he gets very touchy. And the more he takes, the less interest in school he gets. He'll be lucky if he passes this year.
Maybe that concern was too heavy for him and he decided to drink to relieve the pressure.
That's something like Susan said, Ron. She told me she gets so nervous around strange people that she can barely carry on a conversation without drinking to loosen up a bit.
That's really too bad. For these people, someday they may find that they just have to drink to make it through the day.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that her parents are into it too. They give her a rough time after some of their parties. I can see where it might be hard for her to forgive them for some of the things they do to her.
When someone hurts you, you need forgiving love. When someone hates you, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above we need forgiving love. When teachers hound you, you need forgiving love. When parents ground you, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above we need forgiving love. When you say sorry, you need forgiving love. When there's apologies, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above we need forgiving love. For peace and goodwill, you need forgiving love. To practice God's will, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above we need forgiving love. Thank the Lord above for his forgiving love. Thank the Lord above for giving love.
Maybe you should invite your friend over here sometime, Moni. She doesn't have to be nervous around us.
Hey, that's a good idea. And she does know me already.
Yeah, you know, friends are really important. When people stand together, it's so much easier for them to be strong for what they believe. In the Bible, there's a story about a fellow named Daniel who had to do exactly that. When he was a teenager, a king from another country came with his big armies and overran the country. Men in the armies checked the records to see who the smartest fellows were, and so Daniel and some of his friends were rounded up to go off to their country, which was Babylon. Well, when they were in the country, the people changed their diet, began teaching them the Babylonian religion, even changed their names. But this was pretty tough because Daniel and his friends had been taught by their parents that God was the one true God and that it was important to worship him and only him. It was a real honor in that day and age to be invited to eat at the king's table. But there was a problem with this because the king's table had very, very rich food, had very, very strong wine. It didn't help them think. Now, to refuse to eat at the king's table was a huge insult against the king and really displease him, and you could lose your head, and that wasn't just figuratively speaking, if you refused to do it. But Daniel and his friends decided to resist. They came up to their supervisor and they said, "Sir, we'd like to eat food that's a little bit more nourishing for ourselves." So they talked a long time, and finally the supervisor says, "Okay, we'll give you a test period, 10 days. That's all you have. At the end of 10 days, we'll check you out to see how it goes." Well, 10 days came to the end, and they lined up all the fellows to check them out. And these guys passed with flying colors. Daniel and his friends were clear thinkers. They were better looking and much, much stronger. So their supervisor agreed that they could continue to eat the kind of food that they wanted to eat. These fellows were in a way preparing for a time that was coming up ahead for them, that was even a bigger struggle. There was a time when Daniel, in his future, was going to have to take a strong stand against what everybody else was doing. In fact, this was a beautiful thing for Daniel because he could feel in this time that God was with him. Whenever you have to stand up for God, he's right there beside you to give you the strength that you need to do.
Well, you guys, I'm gonna go look for Susan. See ya.
Bye, Moni. Bye, Moni.
days of the full-time fur trapper and trader are over, but some people still use traps for catching certain kinds of animals. The type of trap they use depends on the animal they're trying to catch and whether that animal is to be killed or caught alive. Bait is not always necessary, as some traps only have to be hidden in the underbrush where the animal will step on it to be trapped. There are three main types of traps: enclosing traps, arresting traps, and exterminating traps. Enclosing traps are the most humane. They leave the animal unharmed. These traps include box traps, pits, and nets. A box trap is exactly that, a screened-in box or cage with one or both ends equipped with a door. Bait lures the animal into the box where a trigger assembly in the middle of the box is tripped and the door slams down. Animal collectors and scientists use this trap to catch the animals for zoos or research. Sometimes they tag the animal so they can follow it when they let it go. Arresting traps, like steel spring traps and snares, grip the animal but do not kill it. Steel traps have a trigger that is activated when the animal steps on the disc attachment. Then, a spring trips the steel jaws which trap the animal's leg. A snare is a braided wire with a loop and a special lock at one end. When the animal puts part of its body through the loop and touches it on any side, the loop becomes smaller and the lock tightens it in place, choking the animal as it tries to escape. This trap can very easily kill the animal. Sometimes it snares an animal which the trapper doesn't want, and a life is wasted. Exterminating traps do just that. They exterminate the animal. The mouse trap is an example. These traps have metal clamps that snap shut by means of a coiled spring, and the animal is crushed to death. If you look at a trap from the viewpoint of an animal, it must look like a weird but probably innocent contraption. If a hunter thinks that an animal will be suspicious, he can still fool it by using tricks to camouflage the trap. But no matter which way you look at it, it can't be any fun getting caught in a trap. And that goes for whether it's an animal or a person.
It seems as though the older we get, the more complex life becomes. There are so many things to watch out for. But God doesn't expect us to go alone. He's there and wants to come into our lives to guide us. He gave us the strength to do things right. Have you asked Him into your life yet? We'd like to hear from you. Send your letters to Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's the Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. We'd love to hear from you.